So let's see. I was free tonight for the first time in a long time. I am full of energy. I thought about just looking for a random stream to jump on, but then I hear nerds talk and then they invite weird people on that I'm not really fond of, so I'm like, yeah, okay, not going to do that one. I'm going to back out, right? But it's just one of these rare nights where I'm free and full of energy to talk. I'm shocked that I'm not doing a stream on a night like tonight, because this is a perfect night for me to be doing just that, right? Just free, very rare, and full of energy. But here we are. That's how it goes sometimes. I've been looking into this thing with Luke Gygax and what they're making, and I realize he's gathered up a great team, and they're making something where there's no politics, right? None of the stuff that you don't, it's not going to be in there, right? And they're making this fantastic thing, and it's backed up by a big company, WotC, which a lot of my fellow nerds don't like, especially around the old school, right? And they're like, oh, we're not going to purchase this or get this, and is it going to save WotC? And I'm like, I'm at this stage just going, well, you got a bunch of great people making something for you. I mean, it's just, at what point do you got to go, hey, shit, I'm thinking of buying it, and I don't care about WotC. I just realized they're making it for the old school. I'm like, okay, it's a great team of people. I mean, I could sit here and be all nerdy, get mad over nothing like my fellow nerds, complain, piss, moan, all that bitch, right? But I'm like, you know what? They got a great team together. I'm just not going to bother. I just don't care. Like, if it's made for me, old school, I'm old school. So I'm like, all right, fucking make it for me. I'll buy this shit. I seen an interview with one of the guys working on the team last night on Dungeon Delver. Fantastic fucking guy, right? I like the people who are working on it, so I'm just not going to be, I'm not going to nerd rage on this and go, oh, I'm not going to support WotC. I just, at this point, it comes across as slightly childish to me. I'm like, just get the fucking thing. It's made for you. Oh, and I like to promote my streams because, well, they're really important to me, and I think they'll be really important to you if you like old school games, like just the variety that we have to look at from the past. I'm going to be covering Aftermath, but the more popular game I'm going to be covering is Pendragon, and that's this weekend. So Saturday is Aftermath. That's going to be fun and unique for some people. Not everyone knows about that game, but after that it's going to be Pendragon. I also want to let people know that I'm going to surprise them. I'm going to be covering 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons sometime this year on one of the more casual streams that I do, and I'm going to be doing some unique, just odd things on the casual stream. I'm not going to stick myself to the rules of the main streams I'm doing, which is Sunday my main stream, and then every other stream is out of order, except for my casual streams. When you see casual talk, that could be new games, that could be anything. I'm really focused on covering the old school, but I'm going to open the doors just because I want to cover some cool, unique things. And the reason I'm going to look at 4th edition is there's a lot of old school guys who are especially into miniature gameplay that seem to have some pretty nice things to say about 4th edition. So I'm like, hey, I'll take a look at it because guess what? I mean, given what a lot of people don't know about me, yes, I ran the game with miniatures, play with miniatures, I've done wargaming, and that's another thing I want to talk about is the fact that I'm going to be covering war games, and you'll see that in my lineup already, but we're going to be covering more, going into the rest of the year, right? So take a look at the list. I have a list of other games that I haven't really posted up yet to the stream, like, pre-planned stuff. It's going to be a mix of war games and old school games. When I say old school, I'm covering mostly games like from 1970 right up to the year 2000, right around there. But it's what I deem to be old school, So I'm going to be covering a lot of that this year in my more official streams, which is my main stream on Sunday, and then my out of order stream. Guess what? I said I'd get away from the interviews, but after people really going on to me about how much they liked the streaming, the interview streaming, and it's just some of my supporters really saying they prefer me to actually not give that up. Well, I said before, if you support me and you want to influence me, you can. So I feel influenced, and since they're, I guess, really popular with some people, I'm going to keep doing interviews. Well, the problem is I ask a lot of people and I don't get responses, and I don't want to keep asking people. Like if I ask you and you don't respond to me, like I don't want to hound you. I don't want to go on. So some people, they're off the list of options because I've asked and they see me ask and they say nothing. So I don't know if somehow they expect me to re-invite them. I'm not going to, I don't want to bug people. So if you've already seen me invite you and that you have not responded and okay, you can always get in touch with me if you'd like to come on the stream and do the interview. I said I wouldn't go on other people's streams. I'm open to it, but like I said, I don't know. Tonight I was going to go on a stream, or at least take, if there was an invite to it, go on. But then they said some shit right at the start of that where it was like, all right, that's a little odd. You know, I don't care about politics too much. I like talking when it comes to gaming. And then they start inviting somebody on that I'm like, okay, there's too much of a clash here for me to go on that stream. So I think some streams I just won't go on because, I don't know, I don't want to accidentally end up on the stream with people that really don't like me. Just not my cup of tea, to be real with you. So I have to be more picky about who I'll agree to stream with. And some nerds like to sabotage people by bringing people on that they know that person won't want to talk to. And it's like, guys, I don't want to be forced into something. I'm here to have fun. You know, if I go on a stream, it's to have fun. It's not to give a person a chance to get payback, you know what I mean? Or fucking put me in some awkward social situation. I'm here to have a good time. If you're into that game, no, I have no interest. And if I've seen you or even a hint that you do something like that, or I just think you would, I hate to say it, you're probably not going to be someone I'm going to join on a stream. The other thing is, if you talk really down about me, that's another thing. If you ask me onto your stream, I don't care if it's on YouTube or Rumble, if I see you talking down about me like I'm just some piece of garbage or some guy with issues, or like as if my name is Scott, yeah, I'm definitely not going to go stream with you ever, right? Like you got to be a mature guy and be able to see the truth, and then just be able to be respectful of other people. Like if you want to invite me on your stream, but you look down at me, no man, I don't got time for you, especially when I'm here and you're here. Like sorry, that's just the way it is for some people. But yeah, I'm free. I think just opportunities with me will be wasted sometimes. This is one of these nights where it's like, what a waste. What an absolute waste, right? I don't know. I think I would benefit people by going on their tabletop role-playing game streams because I know a lot and I can talk like a machine, and man, we could hit it out of the park and have a great time because I'm a cool guy, I'm energetic, and tonight, full of energy. But you know what it's going to turn into? I'll make this video and then I'll go watch some funny content, and then I'll probably go play a game. I'm considering like playing Helldivers 2 or something, I don't know. Maybe something like that, or maybe a bit of Rust, whatever I'm in the mood to do. I'm really a hit on this weekend streams, which is, again, Aftermath, Saturday, and then Pendragon. And I know Pendragon is a really popular game amongst many people in the old school, so I'm going to try to hit that out of the park because I've invested a lot of time into Pendragon. I love Pendragon. It's one of my favorite games, right? But I say that, and every game is one of my favorite games. But I'm crazy for games, right? I love gaming. Where nerds will complain about certain things, I've learned to appreciate the differences in experiences. Again, it's like talking about Traveler and Dungeons and Dragons. Usually when you talk to people that play these games, Traveler people or people that run Traveler will be like, well, a D&D DM just wants control. He's a control freak. And I'm like, okay. The D&D guy will be like, yeah, I can't bother with Traveler. But because there is no absolute control. They feel like it's a meaningless game for them to play because they are put in the back seat, right? Now, I just look at both games, and I do like being able to sort of, have some control in D&D and be responsible for your experience because I have talent. I have charisma, I have ideas, and I want to know what it's like for me to put that out there and for people to try what I created. right? What I pushed out there. When it comes to Traveler, though, I actually enjoy getting in and running a game like that, where it is more about the players, less about what I create, and more about just focusing on their reactions. I actually enjoy it. I appreciate both styles of games, just the way it is. Like I said before, a lot of people are also surprised that I've done a lot of wargaming. They don't know that, like playing Warhammer, Starship Troopers, Car Wars, some other odd ones, right? And I'm going to be covering some odd old school games like Little Fears, which is a game about kids, and it's like the idea where the boogeyman is in the closet, but it's not like the real world. The boogeyman's real. The monster under your bed is real. And it's not Disney. It is horror, scary type of real, right? I hope, if you haven't checked it out, that you get a chance to check out my recent stream, where I focus on talking about undead, and I go through the basic, what influenced the whole undead thing with D&D, some of the background, and then I go into different types of encounters, good and bad sides of them. I thought that was really interesting, and if you don't know a lot about undead or all that behind that, go check it out. I had someone asking me if I knew really the connections of undead to D&D further back than chainmail. I don't really. I only know that it really sort of, how could I say, the old Universal era black and white movie monsters were a big inspiration to Gary and them for putting in undead. And also just an old myth, right? Like the mummies and stuff like that. So old myth, but black and white movies, again, are the sort of, it's all I know to be the inspiration for them. The other thing is, they worked really well in wargaming. Like armies of zombies and skeletons and stuff like that. So it really adapted itself well to wargaming. So they play with it in wargaming, and it makes its way over to Dungeons and Dragons. If there's a further back connection, I don't know. But can you potentially find something like undead in wargaming? Well, if you really go back and look for wargaming, you can find some really odd stuff as far back as ancient Rome. I know. Where they're sort of doing like gaming it out in real life, but then that turns into a bit of wargaming. It's some odd stuff, and that's if you're going to buy what you actually, invest your time into learning from that. Were they doing something like wargaming like a few hundred years ago? Yeah, they've done wargaming forever. It starts off where you're trying to figure out what a real war is and game it out so you can figure it out. But these ideas turn into miniatures and boards, and people start turning it into games long before we hear about the classic wargaming that we know of today. But that wasn't part of what I was doing last night. And as far as undead and wargaming, you can go back and find some really odd stuff, but who knows? I only know about undead as it's related to D&D as far back as chainmail. That's where you really find it. As far as I know, my research, that's as far as I got with it. So if there's any nerds that know a little bit more about Dungeons and Dragons and the undead, and there's more of a connection than I know beyond chainmail, you can inform me and others down below, right? I don't claim to be perfect on my research. I just find what I can find, and I put it together, and I put it out there, and I don't make unnecessary claims with it. I just say, this is what I know from what I research. That's it. That's as far as I got with the undead. But I thought they were so important because they're like an identity of D&D that people don't, they're always thinking the dragons and the dungeons, of course, given the name, but the undead are very important to the whole history of Dungeons and Dragons. There's some really crazy stuff with that, like undead and TSR D&D is extremely more dangerous and scary than, say, modern WotC versions of the game, like level drain. Because leveling up in old school D&D could take you a long time, especially depending on the person who's running it. So imagine you played for like a month and a half, and you went for like you're at level 4, and you're almost to level 5, and you encounter a vampire, and he goes, poke, he hits you. Well, that's level drain. There goes some level shit from you. Just imagine how much grind you have to do to get levels under conditions that it's going up very slowly. So you can feel like your work is wiped out in a moment. Level drain, all that sounds pretty badass, and they must have been really badass in the old school. That's not really true. The majority of players outright said they protested against it. It was like, if you run with level drain, we're not joining your game. And that was the majority of players I encountered, like in the late 80s going into the 90s. And even when you get to a form like Dragon's Foot, which is all old school, way back in the day before YouTube, before Facebook, before all of this, when they were going really strong and they were really holding up the conversation for old school gaming, you would go there, and what you would find is in the classifieds where people are trying to look, I'm going to run this game, old school game, I'm going to do all this, the players would all be saying the same thing. Be back to the protest. Yep, if you got level drain, we're not joining your game. And it was a centerpiece of protest, so it was quite often to see old school players saying, yeah, this is no go. So if you told me you run it raw all the time, well, you might have a hard time back in the old school time because a lot of players would not join your game whatsoever. There's something weird about having talks about gaming online. A lot of people don't seem to understand certain things. Like when I say public DM or public game master, they think some convention guy. Nope, the majority of game masters, when I say public, are guys that are simply willing to run the game the way you would for your friends and family, but they're willing to meet up with strangers, recruit them, and run the game for them, campaigns for them the same way you run for your friends and family. But that means you get out and you meet a lot more people in the hobby and you have a different experience. Like for example, I seen one conversation going on where there's an at-home DM who runs for his friends and family, and he says, well, if a bad player shows up to the table, they just need to straighten themselves out. He says you shouldn't even need to kick them from your game. You should not have to do that. You shouldn't have to play daddy. And I'm like, well, that just tells me you have no experience with the majority of people in this hobby. It's good. I'm glad you're at home with your friends and family and you can have a different expectation. When you get out there and meet strangers, you're going to meet all kinds of bad players. It's your job and you have the authority as a game master or whatever title you take as the person at the head of the table to remove that person to make sure your experience and the other player's experience is still good. You either talk to them and get them to straighten out a bad attitude or bad behavior, or you remove them. And you do that as a game master because here's one truth. No matter how many debates I have, here's one truth. The game master, no matter where you play the game or run the game master is responsible for the experience at the table. And if they tell you otherwise, people simply don't know what they're talking about, in my opinion. It's nice to be at home with your friends and family where you can have a different expectation than the other 90% of game masters out there that have to get out to the majority of people that don't have friends and family, nerds that are antisocial, don't have groups. We have to get out there and run a game for them. We do not have the convenience that you have, and they're not our friends or family, so there's a lot less sympathy from strangers when you're meeting them. It's not like they just do a lot of what you would consider common sense, given your experience that you're running for friends and family. I understand the difference in our experience, but that's how it is. And again, back to the public game master thing. I don't mean convention guys and guys running a tournament game at a store, right? I'm not saying that's not some form of public gaming. It definitely is. But when you hear game masters like me say I'm a public game master, 99.9% of the time they're talking about meeting up with people through classifieds or recruiting them at libraries or places where you gather people that you don't know, and then you might go to your home, you might go to one of their homes just like the other guys, and you run long campaigns just like the guy with the friends and family at home running their game. That's 99% of public game masters. It's not conventions or running at a store. So given some people's lack of wider experience in the hobby, it can be weird to see their opinions, and of course I'll disagree, but I realize their experience tells them that this opinion is okay. And for the small percentage of people that did the home game with their friends and family, I can understand why they think what they think. But for the other 90% of us out there in the public, meeting up with strangers, that just was not the experience of most people, right? And that's why these opinions can clash, right? I get it. I guess it can be true for you and 10% of the people in the hobby that did the game with your friends and family. But again, for the rest of us, we just don't have that experience. You have to use your authority. You are responsible for the experience. And if you don't speak up, that player will bust your game. And every other player instinctively at the table does not take the authority to remove anyone. They always look at the game master. So you tell me, if we don't have the authority to take care of the experience, why is it almost 100% of the time when that happens, players look to us, game masters, to handle it? There's a reason. It's natural. That's why it's understandable and just common sense that you have authority to remove players. You know, I heard one of these home DMs say, if we're over at your home and you're just a player in the game, you have the authority to remove a bad player from the game. Well, I'm a public game master. If another player at the table that I'm running the game for sits there and says, okay, I have the authority to remove that guy, I'd be like, yeah, why don't you fucking try? Why don't you try that? Yeah, but we're at my home tonight. Yeah, why don't you fucking try? Because if it does work out that guy gets some leaves because you said so, you're all without a game. I'll walk. Because you're stepping on my authority. I don't care if we're at your home, some other home, or a fucking library or whatever. I am the game master, and it's my authority to remove players. Not trying to be an ass about it, I'm just being straight. And you don't have control over my game. I didn't go work on it for hours to have a player who's done a minimal amount of work think they can remove another player from my game. That's overstepping, my dude. Like, I don't care if we're at your home. Oh, you don't want that guy there? Well, then you don't want a game. Because if you think you can ever take my authority and play with it when you have not done the work to earn it, don't say because we're at your home you've earned it. No, you haven't. You step over that fucking line. Yeah, here's the thing. I'll be like, okay, guys, if you all want to show up next week, and this may be bad player, or maybe I'll be removing him myself, but for the rest of the players, I'll be like, next week or whenever, yeah, I'll still continue the game for you. But see that bad player? If I deem that to be a bad player, fine, he'll be gone. But see the guy who just overstepped and said, yeah, he's kicking somebody out of my game? He won't be there either, because he's a bad player as well, because he just stepped on my authority. No good player would ever try to take my authority as a game master, even if we're in their home, and try to remove a player from my game. Because yes, in the D&D world, the game master, it's their game, right? That's how that works. And to be honest, even if we're playing Traveler, it might be more focused on the players, but understand if some player ever said, I'm removing that player from the game, I'll be like, yeah, well, you can go with him. It's my home. Well, I guess we'll pause this one. I'll see you guys next week at my place. Oh, I gotta tell you, if a player ever overstepped like that, I've never seen that in my life. I heard this argument on X, but I've just never seen a player ever attempt to do that. I'm like, and especially with me, my players would know right away. Like, they would just know. If a player ever got up because we were at their home and said, yeah, I'm removing that player from the game, the other players would just be like, don't sit down, man, shut the fuck up, that's his game. Don't. And I guarantee, if they wanted to save that poor player, they would be trying that, because they're like, okay, yeah, all right, fucking Steven's gonna kick you out too. Like, you're fucking gone. We're gonna leave your home. We're never gonna come back here and game again, because Steven's is never gonna game master for you. Like, yeah, that guy might be bad, but now he's gonna deem you a bad player because you overstepped on your authority. A player's authority is their player agency with their character, which I believe in, and it's a concept a lot of old school guys never cared for. Ironically, they seem to care for it when they think Mercer is stepping on it, but I think that's just an excuse to attack Mercer. Most of the guys that went after Mercer over the player agency bit, oh, you're taking player agency away. Yeah, go back a few years, you'll see them, fuck player agency. Now they care because it's Mercer. It's just some guys are ironic like that, right? Difference between me and them is I've always, been supportive of player agency. I've always been opposed to, who cares if the player has control over their character? I can say whatever as a game master. I'm like, no. Anyway, that's it. I figured I'd burn some energy off doing a video to entertain you and talk about a few things and just random, Anyway, I'll see you this weekend. Tomorrow, Aftermath. And then, come Sunday, Pendragon, baby. It's going to be a good time.